Okay, good. Thank you. It's 4:01 and I will call the meeting to order. Mary, do you want to read the governor's?
Sure. So this open meeting of the Town Area Plan Work Group Committee of the Nantucket Planning and Economic Development Commission is convening by video conference pursuant to Chapter 20 of the Acts of 2021 is extended on July 16th, 2022. This meeting is being recorded and all attendees are participating remotely via Zoom as posted on the town's website, identifying how the public may join. Ensuring public access does not ensure public participation unless such participation is required by law. This meeting may feature public comment if there are any members of the public present. Henry, do you want to do the roll call?
Sure. Lee?
Here.
Mary?
Here.
Mary Ann?
Here.
Marcia?
Here.
And me. Mickey? Oop. And Allison? No. Reagan? No Reagan. Okay. That's done. Okay. Approval of the agenda. Any additions, subtractions, changes? On the original that I sent in, I had also added a discussion of the report to NP and EDC and an update on the survey. So for some reason, it didn't make it to what went to meetings.
And I have an update on the remote meeting status from the state. I guess we can do that under new business if we have that.
Yep, sounds good. Okay.
Looks like Reagan is joining us, Henry.
Oh, very good.
Hi.
Hi, Reagan. Welcome.
Thank you.
Okay. Approval of the agenda. All in favor, aye.
Hi.
Hi.
Opposed? Good.
Henry, could you tell me the items that you had proposed and were not printed?
Discussion of the report to NP and EDC. And an update on the survey, which Mary can let us know about.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Because when we approved the agenda, I think we approved those included items.
I would hope. Okay. Approval of the minutes from January 20th. Any discussion? Okay. All in favor, aye.
Hi.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Very good. Okay. Mary, you want to give us an update on the survey?
Sure. So we had sent out approximately 1,800 postcards. For some unknown reason, well over 100 of them came back returned to sender, including a number that had Nantucket addresses that came back with a note that they were vacant, which is, I can only guess that perhaps they're summer residents and the summer residents don't put in a forwarding address for their mail, which seems very odd, but because these are official property owner addresses from the town's records. In any case, some of them I'm working to figure out an alternate address and send them back out. But you know, it's just strange to see so many of them come back. So from that, we have 250 responses. 7 of those are renters. The rest are all property owners. At least that's how they've identified themselves. 90% of them are over the age of 50 and 40% are over the age of 70. So that's an interesting demographic. Although if we looked at our group here, I wonder if we are right in that demographic.
Pretty close.
Sorry, Mary, how many over 70?
Over 40% were over 70 years old of the respondents.
Thank you.
Keep in mind that 250 is a small fraction of the 1,800 potential respondents. Let me look at some of the details here, excuse me. I don't want to give away the content, but I did want to pass along a few of the details. So that one. In terms of whether they were seasonal and were interested in living on Nantucket year-round. So of the 250, 100 and a few responded to that question. And they all said, I would not want to become a year-round resident. So that's 100 people that were just simply, we're only here seasonally. And we also got 100 plus comments on that question. So I haven't dug into all the comments. Some of the comments are simply things like, why didn't you ask about this? So they're not really a response to the question as I've been scanning through. So we'll do an analysis when we close the survey. I don't want to, say anything that might prove to turn around in a different direction or might not be accurate because I haven't looked at all the comments. And the second part of that we asked, if you're a year-round resident in town, would you need future assistance to be able to continue living in your home on Nantucket? And the answer to that was uniformly no. Either I don't anticipate needing any assistance or I do not plan to remain on Nantucket year-round in the future. So that was another interesting, 100% response with no nothing on the other side. We did get a number of responses for suggestions for new businesses and new recreational activities. So we'll take a look at those when the survey is complete. It's nice to know that we got suggestions. The question about quality of life gathered over 150 comments. So we will definitely get some direction from that. But again, some of the questions are not really some of the answers are not really responses to the question that we asked. And so what we really need to think about is how can we get more responses? I believe that the Sconset area and Mattocket area surveys each got over 500 responses. So I would like to have 500 as a target. And from our initial mailing, we've only gotten 250. So any ideas on how we can reach additional people? Even the postcards that came back, that shouldn't have prevented us from getting to 500. So what can we do? Is the question.
How long has the survey been out? You know when the cards were mailed?
I can tell you, I've got some returned ones right here. We look at the postmark. January 27th. So over a month it's been out. And the responses are only trickling in, maybe one or two a day at this point.
Yeah, I'll check the box tomorrow and see if we got more.
Yeah,
More returns.
I have to say that I haven't seen my postcard.
I didn't mail one to any of the people on the screen except for Marianne, who I forgot to remove. So Marianne did get hers.
I completed the survey.
Yeah, everybody had already completed the survey, so I didn't want to waste the town's money by mailing you a postcard.
I would like to suggest sending another postcard and offering a prize.
I'm not sure that would help a lot because prize aside, I'm not responding to that. But if we send a postcard, I think the people that wanted to respond to that have. And if we wanted to get a higher response, we'd probably have to send it in the summer rather than in the winter. And that's too long, I think, for us to wait for responses. But I am sending the ones that come back. I am trying to send out one more time just to try and reach them, so that everybody has.
Do we have phone numbers for any of these people that
So I do have the names on the towns of who the owner is. And just a side note, so those properties that had lawyers listed as the contact person for the owner and did not have the owner's name or address, I did reach out to the lawyers and they all agreed that they would forward the postcard information to the owners. So hopefully we reached people who are shielded from public view. But we could try going through the phone book if somebody wants to do that legwork. We could see who knows people One of the issues, the survey is anonymous, so we don't know who's responded. So we could, we could spend time calling people and finding out that they've already responded.
Could you remind me, was it available at all on a digital form? Like, I know a number of the surveys that have been through Nantucket Current and Daybreak Nantucket. Was it available that way?
We have not publicized the link. Of course, the survey is only electronic. We had a couple of people respond and ask for a paper copy. I said, no, we can't do that.
I'm sorry,
Then I would have to type in their responses to the electronic version.
Yeah. No,
But I was able to
I'm
get
sorry,
them.
I meant available other than through the mail.
No, we have not publicized the link. And so that's a question, should we, and how? The risk is that people who are not in the area respond to the survey.
Yeah.
And that's not really appropriate. What I thought we could do is do a general, social media, electronic media, town media announcement that the survey is available, but not publicize the link and ask them to respond to the email if they would like the link to the survey with their residential address so that we can verify that they're in the area. That means responding to a whole bunch of emails, hopefully, potentially a couple hundred, which, can be done. But it would get a little more security and validity of the results.
I'm just kind of thinking about if each one of us came up with 5 or 10 names of neighbors or friends that we know.
Well, you can do that individually. You don't need any committee action or postcards. Just if you have.
Well, I would need something to add to my list of to-dos, but yeah, it's really, yeah.
And the other, I personally would be careful that we don't only reach the people that we know. Everybody has a right to respond to the survey. And so I would be a little leery about personal outreach to only a select group of people.
Well, I don't know about your friends, but mine are all select, but they're all quite different in their opinions. But could you remind me, do we know with the Sconset group and the Matticat survey, were those also restricted to people in their area?
They had mailing lists. So so that's the issue really, is the town association doesn't have a mailing list with 1,800 people on it. The Sconset and Matticat ones do. They have, much greater membership, much more engagement. And so they're able to directly reach out to their membership.
So, but they also restricted it to people that lived in that area. Is that correct?
I don't know how they did it, but my assumption is that they restricted it to the people on their mailing list. I don't know. I don't know how they did it.
Well, I guess that's just, a question of mine. Because I know you were just saying that wouldn't be appropriate to have other people answer the survey, and I'm not totally clear on that. And that's why I was asking, well, what did the other ones do?
Right, I don't know, but we could certainly try and find out.
Yeah.
I guess I feel like we could use all the available media, but I'm not sure that we're going to get a great response. I think if we use a carrot, like $100 gift certificate for ice cream at the juice bar, kind of a raffle thing, people might, just think about how they love summer on Nantucket and going to the juice bar is so important, and, that kind of connection in their brains.
Yeah, a couple of concerns that come to my mind right away is the town would have to okay that. I don't know, I just don't know if that's something the town can do. And if we offer an incentive, we will attract many more people who are not residents of the area.
No, I'm suggesting that mailing it, doing another
Or
postcard.
doing the directed.
We would only hit the right people. Yeah, I can't
So-
imagine a town telling us how to spend our money. That's for
Well,
$100.
it's, I'm sorry, Mary, who do you mean by us and our? Because we're a town
Us is
committee,
the
we'd be
town
spending the town's money.
association. But the town association would spend the money.
Well, we're
Why?
not an association.
Pardon? We're not part of the town.
No, but this is not a meeting of the town association.
Yes, I realize that,
Yeah.
but we have been charged with this project.
Not,
Not for 3 years.
yeah.
Not for what?
So this work group has been charged with the project.
Oh, okay. I
It's-
thought it was officially the town association.
No, it's officially the work group, which is a subcommittee of the NPDDC.
Okay, sorry.
No, it's a fine line for sure.
Mm.
You know, the town association, if it wanted to, could volunteer to, you know, contribute to the effort from its own coffers or volunteer list. But we have not made that direct connection.
So following up on your thought about offering a link that would be directed to people who live in the area, and trying to follow up on the ice cream idea, is there a way, you know, when you're offering the link through some of the media, that you would be conveying to people that that we really need your help, that, you know, something about, you know, being special if you live in this downtown area, something to make people feel, which I, you know, that they're special and that we need their help. I don't know. I mean, I like the idea of doing something to broadcast it through Daybreak or Nantucket Current.
Yeah, we had talked about potentially doing that at the beginning. And I think if we want more responses, we're going to have to do that. It's just the only way to reach people. You know, short-
Henry, could you send a letter to the editor at the INM?
Well, this is more in a planning thing,
Yeah.
I think. We can advertise, but then somebody's got to be able to read through it.
Yeah. Yeah, so we're kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place, where if we publicize the survey link, we run the risk of people responding who are not eligible, and we don't have any way to really weed them out. And if we invite people publicly to qualify by providing their address, then somebody has to respond to that inquiry with the link.
Yeah,
Is it easier if you open it up to anybody to weed them out after they've answered the survey and say, oh, you know, look at the address, they're not, but you're saying that the survey doesn't have anyone's address.
No, the survey asks what street they live on,
Right.
because it is an anonymous survey. And so, yes, potentially, there are two things that I can do. I can create a second link so that everybody who responds to that second link, which is the one that would be out there publicly, would get extra scrutiny because we knew it was a public link. And then we would look at what street they answered the question with to qualify them. Not to say that people couldn't put in the wrong street. I don't think there would be a great deal of that kind of behavior.
Yeah. And then it might be interesting because then we'd kind of have a secondary pot of information to look at.
Yeah,
What-
so that's the simplest approach, would be a general broadcast using a different link so that we could segregate the responses into before and after.
Good.
Mary, that's genius. I like that.
Okay.
Yeah, I like that too.
All right, so Daybreak, Current, Inquirer and Mirror, the town's news that goes out with their announcements. Those are the 4 things that I thought of that we could request publication. Any other ideas?
Would it go on the town's website?
I don't know. Well, if it goes out through their news item, it would be listed as a news item on the town's website. I don't know where else we would put it to that people would notice. But it could go on social media through the town.
Okay.
Let me just make sure I don't forget these. Let me write these down.
I think those are the only options.
The news items are on the front page. Now, the individual items, only the top 2 or 3 show up on the page, and then you have to click for further. But for a while, it would be right on the town's front page
Right.
until the next news item kicked it downhill a bit.
And it goes out in an email blast to everybody who's subscribed.
Good.
Okay, so we'll
Sounds
move
plan.
forward with that. So to do that, I need to write content for that. You know, what are we going to say in that? And then I need to check with the Plus department to see if there's any cost or how they normally get those things out and make sure that they will support that. Anybody think of any other things that would help or that might need to get done?
That's about it.
Okay.
Our next meeting's what, the 24th,
Is it third Friday? It's the 17th.
17th? Okay.
Let me briefly mention at the end of the survey, I had a question, how would you rate the survey? And we got a 4.2 out of 5. So
Oh.
people, gave us a decent rating on the survey.
Even though it's 250 out of 1,800, without attempting to quantify the answers, I suspect that we're going to get a lot of input on the open-ended responses that may help us to write the report.
Yeah, I think that was the real value. I mean, some of the demographic questions are interesting, especially the age distribution, again, of a small number of people in the area. But when I thought about it, I thought, well, how many children do we really think live in town? When I was growing up in town, it was a family neighborhood. We had neighbors who were kids, but I just don't see that as being the case anymore. So I thought about talking to the schools and asking them to identify their students, maybe their high school students that lived in this area. And I just thought, it's probably not very many.
With the school just at the edge of the defined town area, if there are kids, at least around me, they're walkers. Now, this is not in any way definitive, but on Sparks Avenue, there are any number of kids that leave the school at the end of the day and walk across to the Boys and Girls Club. I suspect they are not necessarily town residents, but they may be, because that's a convenient parking spot for working parents for their children.
So do you think it's worthwhile asking the town, asking the school to identify the people who would be eligible? And specifically, we're talking about high school students.
I wouldn't put any more burden on the schools than they already have.
I was gonna work it the other way. Coming at this from the Cemetery Commission, the number of school kids, mainly high school kids, who do caloric replenishment at the Cumberland and trespass across Newtown Cemetery is fairly substantial. Now, once again, there are neighborhoods right to the edge of town, Allen Lane, Cow Pond Lane, and so forth, where a lot of kids do live, but they're just outside of our district. If it's a simple question and it doesn't take a lot of work on their behalf to tell us, yeah, I would ask it.
Yeah, I don't know how simple, I mean, I don't think they would be giving us, I think we would be giving them the information for further distribution. Because I don't think they would give us names and addresses.
You're
I-
probably
Yeah,
I mean, I do think it would be interesting whether they live in the downtown now. I just would find it interesting to have school children answer the survey,
Mhm.
just because it's another perspective. I think it would be, if you did that kind of the double link thing again, but I mean, because when you look at the school children that do come in, I know I see them coming past my house heading to the music school. And so, the children that do are building a relationship of some kind with the downtown, I value like their input, whether they had aunts and uncles or grandparents that used to have a house, or, I mean, it's just an interesting demographic to what we're all looking at. So I would, whether they live here or not, I would just value their input.
So Mary, I think I hear that the way to do it would be to give the school a short flyer with, if you're interested in helping the town to establish its future, please let us know and we'll send you a link.
I don't think, and I'm not trying to wordsmith, but I don't think we can open it up to people who aren't residents of the area, because the area plan is defined by the area. While it'd be, I agree, it would be fascinating to find out.
Mary, I'm staying with the notion that the school would distribute those of notices or flyers only to people whom they identified as living in the town. No, not to the entire school. But it would require, what am I trying to say? It would require cooperation. That's what I want, cooperation from the school to so distribute.
Yeah, well, I have the postcards. Fortunately, Poets Corner printed a whole bunch of extras. So,
Okay.
If the school told me how many they needed, I could certainly hand over a pack.
It would be worth finding out. If they say, no, we can't do that, or at least we tried.
Mhm.
No, I agree with you. It would only be to those students whose official address was in town.
Does anybody have contacts in school administration who would want to ask that question?
Not strong enough to be of value. I serve on a committee with the superintendent, but we only meet once a year, and she probably doesn't remember who I am.
All right, I'll see what I can do.
Okay.
Um,
Well, I would start in the superintendent's office,
Mhm.
and then let I guess it's Dr. Hallett determine to whom she would turn to help us.
Yeah, my best contact is Pauline Proch, who's now running our house. And that, because we're looking at just the teenagers, that might be an easier way to find them. Although I don't know that she has their address, their home addresses. So
She's a good head.
yeah.
You want to see what response we get through current Daybreak in the town first?
Well, if I create separate links, We could do both. And in the interest of time, you know,
Yeah.
we want to get some results back so that we can move on.
To use an old electrical term, in parallel, not in series.
Mhm.
In other words, both together rather than waiting for one before starting the next.
All right. Report to NP and EDC.
So if you don't mind me taking the lead, Henry,
Go ahead.
the NP and EDC hasn't heard from this committee or the Mattocket Area Committee, and has heard from the Monomoy Area Plan Committee, and has a couple other neighborhoods in the wings that are interested in area plans. And so we're trying to just figure out where everybody is and you know, get an idea of timeline or progress status or whatever. So what would this committee like to report back to NP and EDC? The NP and EDC meeting will be March 20th. And so we'd like to have something ready to give them at that meeting. And preferably not from me, since I'm the NP and EDC member. So if Henry's available.
My first thought is, yes, we must report. But then the second concern is we don't want to tell them things that have not yet happened. And so we'll have minutes of this meeting in several days, and Henry can decide just what we would tell NPEDC about our analysis of the return on the survey. Certainly 250 out of 1,800 attempts to expand that number. Some interesting things that will go into our summary report. In general, we are alive and we are trying to make things happen. I think, you know, we need to let it's a commission, I believe, we'll let your commission know that we are working.
But should we not refer or reference the work prior to the survey? There is work that has been written and assembled.
But nothing ready to submit.
No, but it's just to describe that it does exist in a initial draft.
Basically, we're stalled till we get the survey done.
Yeah, but I think Marcia's got a good point. The 7 subcommittees have met and reacted and put some thoughts down on paper. Henry's concern, if I could translate, is, but we don't want to share those until we can shape the subcommittee reports with results of the survey. But work has been done, or a discussion has been held.
I think it would be helpful for this committee to report to NP and EDC just the simple fact that we created a I don't use the word subcommittee, that each area has had the attention of several members of this committee, and you know, and notes are developed, you know, something describing the process. You know, we don't have to present the results, but I think it'd be helpful to describe the process.
Okay, I'll get something up and then I'll go over it with you, Mary.
Sure.
Okay.
And we're meeting on the 17th, which is before so this committee is meeting on the 17th, which is before the NP and EDC's meeting on the 20th. So we do have another opportunity as long as we're able to have that meeting. I don't want to put it off to the last minute, but.
Yeah.
So Mary, you did mention the word timeline. And if I were the group that we're reporting to, I would want to have a sense of timeline. And I know we discussed it at the last meeting and we didn't come up with anything, but I feel it's important for the health and well-being of all of us to have a timeline as well as to report, what we roughly might envision.
So that should come from the individuals in this committee making whatever commitment or plan they want to make.
Mary, it's a little bit like a draft budget. It'd be nice that actual expenditures met the budget, but if they don't, it's no disaster. I think Marcia's point is that we create a target for ourselves, and if we miss it, we're going to blame it on the post office.
No, I mean, do we want to be done before the summer? Do we want to have that first draft before the summer? I would like to, not that I need, a big project on my list, but I would, we've been at this for a long time.
Marcia, you have a very good point, because if we have a draft, then with a larger population, an open or public hearing would be very productive.
Yes.
Somebody has just faded from view. It's Marianne.
I think if this committee wants to set a goal of having a draft available for public review this summer, that would be a good thing to report.
Mm.
A lot of it depends on the survey, and the more we expand it, the longer it's going to take.
Well, I mean, I think that we have to put an end to that also, a target end, But if we look at the calendar and say, when Memorial Day is, do we want to have a draft by the middle of May or the end of May before Memorial Day? We have a meeting on May 19th.
Well, the other thing is, how much longer can we meet by Zoom?
I have some tentative news on that. It's looking good, is the short answer.
Good.
But we'll know more in by the end of the month when the orders expire. So we do have the opportunity to meet more frequently. May is a long month. If we need that extra time, but I think a lot of this work will be done on an individual basis or on the team basis for each area, and doesn't need to be done in a meeting.
But we did have a time when at each meeting, certain groups were scheduled, and we could take that approach also, so that, whichever components I was working on, I would know on such and such a meeting, I was going to report on the progress, or, have a draft for another review.
We need a quorum to do that, though.
So was that a problem, having a quorum?
It wasn't before, but we've got members that aren't on island. So if we have to meet in person, and we've got 3 members that aren't on the island, then getting a quorum is going to be tough.
Well, if I look at April 21, we have a meeting on April 21 on Friday. And I know, because I've talked to my team member, Mickey Rowland, and he is on island. Anyway, I understand.
I think we may be at cross purposes here. I'm sorry, I've got a ventilator going, and if it makes a loud noise, I'll go back on mute. But Marcia, I think I heard you say that the subgroups could, when they're ready, could report And that could be sooner than later if their sense is supported by results of the survey. And I don't think that has anything to do with whether or not we're meeting in person, hybrid, or by Zoom. I could be wrong.
I guess the first thing is we've got to get something in writing.
Yes. Well, the very first thing is some summary of the survey. Even if it's a draft summary that will be amended when we get further results.
I would say that once we are able to publicize the survey electronically, we should not keep it open very long after that. I mean, we'll get an initial rush and then it'll taper off. So, 2 weeks tops.
Agreed.
Yeah, and if we can get that out by Friday the 17th, our next meeting. So if we can have the electronic communication go out by next Friday, 2 weeks would be March 31st. So we could plan to close the survey on March 31st. That's probably the earliest we could close it. And if if the electronic communication goes out a few days later than the 17th, we could still close it on the 31st. So if we want to have that as a target, we can certainly make that assumption.
I think it's a good one, Mary.
Okay.
I think it's great too. I mean, I think that that's a good item to be able to report also.
Okay, anything else?
The only question I have, which isn't really a need to have much of a discussion right now, but I know that many of us who looked at the Monomoy report I know I was very impressed with the graphic layout, with the photographs, with the presentation of the report. And I know we're going to move along with these certain target dates and create something, but I have no idea how we would ever create something that was really, really so good looking as the Monomoy report. So I just, have that as a question. Future.
So, Marcia, let me put your mind at ease. That level of presentation is not required and is not desired by the planning department. It can be a simple text presentation. If you look at the Sconset area plan update, it's a couple of pages of text. These do not have to be and are not intended to be elaborate presentations that look like consultants made them, because that's what Monomoy had, is they had a consultant.
Right. I wouldn't mind something in between, Mary. Something in between, a photograph here or there, something that shows, that we are. I mean, somebody still has to put it together. The text and/or.
I can ask the planning department what level of assistance is available from their employees.
Yes, that'd be good.
The answer might be none. That's certainly possible, but I can certainly ask.
Always ask. Good. All right. Thank you.
Anything else?
Henry, I can provide a little more detail on the meeting, remote meeting options.
Yeah, please.
So I reached out to Charity Grace Mopson, who is our legislative representative. And let's see. She said, the House passed an extension through April 2025 last week. We expect the Senate to also approve. She agrees that the ability to meet remotely offered many benefits, especially accessibility for more participants, and she will let me know when she gets an update. So I don't have the specifics of what they passed, but it looks like the state is going to do something to continue to allow remote meetings. I've heard a few rumors about some conditions that might be placed on it. But since they're rumors and I don't have any information, I won't, share those. So we'll wait and see and hopefully get news before March 31st about exactly what we're allowed to do.
Yeah, that would be helpful.
Yeah, when I think about the amount of time it takes to actually go to a meeting instead of to just sit down 30 seconds before the time in your seat. Yeah. Not to mention all the driving around and such.
Yeah.
Going in circles looking for a parking place. We'll all use Henry's driveway.
It's getting pretty full. All right. I have 4:47. Could I have a motion to adjourn? Don't everybody speak at once.
So moved.
Second,
Okay.
So
Thank
that
you.
was, who and who?
Reagan moved.
Mary Ann, second.
I got
Thank
it.
you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Adams.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you, Mary.